if you hear God in your heart and in your mind, you might have to move. You might have to go to Christian college. Sometimes you might have to move across the country. You might have to leave your family. He had to sell all of his land, leave his inheritance. They had to sell their 2 houses. They had to leave everything behind. 2 of their kids were left behind because they didn't want to finish high school in the jungle, so they finished high school with their family in San Jose. You'll have to move sometimes. And here's the third fact about God's plan. God's plan will test your faith, and it will test your wallet, and it will test your will. When they got to the jungle, and my grandma writes about it in her book, if you want to read it, you can have my copy. It will test your will. When they got to the jungle, their house burned down. And then their kids got sick. My dad and his twin brother, they were like 6 years old, and they almost died from malaria. My dad will tell you about it. And then they got all these pet chimpanzees, and the pet chimpanzees started dying, and one of them got eaten by fire ants. And then all of their little friends that they had in the jungle started getting struck by lightning. And my grandma and grandpa, they tell us stories all the time. They started saying that they would pray and they would say, God, if this is your purpose for our life, why are our kids' friends dying? Why are our pets dying? And why did our house burn down? So they built another house, and then that house burned down. So then they started praying, God, if this is really your purpose for our life to tell people about God, if my Bible was opening up, how could this even be a part of your plan? Sometimes God's plan will test your wallet, it will test your will, it will really, really test your faith. And you won't understand why until you start to live it out, until you start praying, until you start seeking God's voice more and more and more. I wrote this down because I was thinking about it deeply this weekend. I think a lot of people, a lot of adults, there are some people in this room that won't hear what I'm saying right now, and that's okay. Some of you will never understand this, and that's okay. It's gonna go right over your head. It's gonna go over the heads of adults, and they'll never understand this. They'll never hear God's purpose for their life. They'll be 75 years old, and they'll miss this. But they're gonna miss it because they're gonna miss the test. They're not gonna pass the test. Rick Warren, he's one of the most famous pastors. He's in California at Saddleback Church. He writes The Purpose-Driven Life. And he writes about what it means to have purpose and how to find your purpose in life. And he says that purpose in life is all about passing life's test. He says God is constantly testing you, and it's passing these tests. Whether it's about passing a hard test because God is testing your family or testing your faith or testing you to go give in the giving box, but it's about passing the test. And a lot of adults don't find their purpose because they're not passing the test. If you want to level up in your faith, pass the test. A good example in the Bible, when I look at the Bible, is I look at Noah. So we often don't think about Noah because we think sometimes as postmodern Christians, we think Noah, it's a fake story. It's just a Bible story, right? From Sunday school, from Zone, it's a fake story. But here's the crazy thing. God comes to Noah and says, Noah, I need you to build an ark. And I need it to be this many feet big. And I need you to do all this stuff. And what does Noah do? Noah says, sure. But here's the crazy thing, and I was reading all about Noah and the ship and all this stuff. The crazy thing is, you know that Noah was 500 years old? Noah was 500 years old when that happened. So there's some massive problems with Noah's story, right? So I wrote this down. God comes to Noah, and Noah could have said no, because here's the problems with Noah's story. Do you know in those days, it didn't rain? You can look this up. Pre-flood, it wouldn't have been raining. So Noah really wouldn't have known what a boat looked like because it didn't rain. Also, Noah didn't live by an ocean or a lake, so he wouldn't have known what boats looked like. Those are two massive reasons why Noah could have said no. The third reason is it took Noah over 120 years to build an ark. And he only had his sons to help him. So if he just had 3 sons, these 3 guys helping him, and 120 years, he might have said, look, I've only got these 3 boys, and they're kind of strong, but it's gonna take us 120 years, God. I can't do this alone. I can't do it with my 3 boys. The fourth reason is every animal is a lot of freaking animals. Every animal? How about half the animals? How about 200 animals? Every animal. They say that the ark was a third of the size of the Titanic. And he fit every animal. That's a massive, massive problem. But one of the truths about finding your purpose is this. Finding your purpose takes time. I think a lot of times we say, I don't know my purpose. I don't know my purpose because. But one of the truths about finding your purpose is it takes time. It's okay right now to say, I don't know my purpose. It's okay. Finding your purpose will take time. Noah was how old when he found out his purpose in life? 500 years old. I honestly think he might have been closer to 600 years old when him and his sons were building the ark, and he's 600 years old, and he goes, oh, this is what a boat looks like. And then him and his sons and the stinky sheep and all of the animals and the giraffes, they're getting on, and he goes, oh, I'm 600, and now I know my purpose in life. I say all that because sometimes if you don't know what you're supposed to do in life, that's okay. You might be 25, you might be 21, you might be 19 or 18 graduating high school soon. It's okay if you don't know what you're supposed to do. A lot of adults have no idea what they're supposed to do. But I say that because maybe you've deep down felt like you've had a heart for people in another country, or you've had a heart for orphans, or maybe you felt like you're supposed to help people downtown, or deep down, maybe you've always felt like you're supposed to go do something. Always, you've known something, right? Just like, I know I'm supposed to build a boat. I don't know why. There's always something deep down, right? I know I'm supposed to help give clothes overseas. I just know I'm supposed to start that software engineering project that's supposed to help people with anxiety, and it's gonna help neurofeedback, and I'm smart with computer stuff, and deep down I know that, but I don't know how that's my purpose. Shh. Pursue that. Pursue that, because God will end up showing you your purpose. I wanna close with this story. Eric Liddell, maybe some of you know his name. He was a famous Olympic sprinter. He was the fastest man in the world. He was from America. He was the 100-meter champion for years and years. And so he's going to the Olympics. This was during World War. And so he's going to the Olympics, and Eric Liddell was a famous Christian. And he was famous also for not running on Sundays. So he would race on a lot of weekends, but then Sunday would come, and if the quarterfinals or semifinals were on Friday and Saturday, he would say, sorry, I don't race on Sunday because that's the Lord's Day. It's a day of rest, and I'm not gonna race on Sunday. Well, the Olympics came around, and everyone was wondering if he would race on Sunday. Well, one of the races, it fell on Sunday, and he had qualified for the finals for the 100-meter dash, and he pulled out. And he didn't race on Sunday. And he said, sorry, it's the Lord's Day. I'm not gonna race on Sunday. And he pulled out of the 100-meter dash. Eric Liddell said, it doesn't matter. I'm a Christian. I've already won. My gold medals are already in heaven. Eric Liddell was famous for another quote. One of his famous quotes that he said is, I believe God made me for a purpose. And that purpose is for China. And he had a heart for missions, to be a missionary. And because he was so famous, people all around the world started to know about him. And he wanted to take the gospel to China, which was a communist nation at the time. So he ended up taking his family and going to China, which at the time was really dangerous because of the war. And he went there and started telling people about God, started taking the Bible and the gospel to China. And millions of people started hearing the gospel. And he started saving millions of people. The war started to get dangerous, so his family came back, and it started getting really bad, and he was taken as a prisoner of war. But because of him, millions of people heard the gospel. He ended up getting out, and he came back to America, and he was okay. But I think a lot of times we don't know what our purpose is. Maybe we think it's one thing. We think it's just to be a farmer. We think it's just running. We think it's just this one thing. I think I'm just supposed to be an engineer, but God says, no, your purpose is actually for the gospel. You're supposed to go to China. I've created you for so much more. Eric Liddell could have been okay just running, right? But no, my purpose is for China. My purpose is for you to take the gospel to millions of people. Maybe you have no idea what your purpose is right now. It's okay. Maybe God's gonna show you your purpose when you're 33 years old like my grampy. Maybe he's given you something deep down in your gut and you are supposed to start unearthing that. Maybe like Noah, he's just saying, look, step into it. I'm gonna show you in 50 years. I need you to step into it though. I need you to start doing things now for my people and for my kingdom right now. I think as we close this morning, that's my challenge to you. I have sticky notes all over your table with pens. And what I want you to do as we get ready to close, and maybe you've written all over them, that's okay. I just want you to write down one thing or a sentence or one word that describes you and what you feel like your purpose is. Maybe you feel like you're passionate about a group of people, or maybe you're passionate about a purpose, or maybe you're passionate about spreading the word, or maybe you're passionate about a refugee group. Maybe you're passionate about something, and maybe one day you want to help that group. Maybe it's about spreading the gospel. Whatever it is, maybe it's an adjective. Maybe that word is beautiful. It could be anything. Maybe it's just the word Jesus. I want you to write down something that describes your purpose in life. Because I think a lot of times we don't know even how to write down our purpose. Maybe your purpose is for China, like Eric Liddell, and to take Bibles to China or to take it to a third world country. I think there was one person that only knew his purpose in life clearly, and that was Jesus. And he knew it thousands of years before he was born, millions of years, and his was to save humanity. I think if you already know your purpose, that's great. Write it down. Maybe it's to write worship music. Maybe it's to write songs for people or to go help people with medicine. Write that down.